Hello, this is Mili Ponce from Social Songbird, and today I'll be interviewing Ben Maher from Project 310. Hello, Ben. How are you today?
Good, Millie. How are you?
Yeah, good. Here is pretty late, but we're excited to have you for our audience.
Yeah, awesome. I can't wait to get into this. I have been learning a lot about social media in the recent years, so I'd love to talk.
Excellent. So, where are you at the moment?
I am in the US. I'm on the East Coast, located in Boston.
Okay. I actually lived for 3 years in California,
Really? We're in California.
in San Jose.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved San Francisco and Santa Monica. I love all the West Coast.
Yeah, the West Coast is awesome. I've visited two or three times, and just the vibe, the weather, everything's great.
Exactly. No, I loved it. I missed lots of things. So tell
Mhm.
us about you. So is this your first project? Have you been an entrepreneur before? Tell us a bit about it.
Absolutely. So this is very much my first project. This is something that is kind of far off the beaten trail from me. I'm finishing up a major at Boston University right now in mechanical engineering. So very math, very technical. Um, and I actually started this venture with two of my buddies who were my roommates at the beginning of quarantine. And it all started just as a way to solve our own quarantine boredom. We were sitting around, it was 3 weeks in, and we were like, there's nothing to do. So let's make up $1 million idea.
Mhm.
And it's kind of snowballed. And a year later, here we are still working on it and still working hard to make it a reality. So it's exciting.
It's amazing how many people I have interviewed that started in the university room or just boredom because of pandemic. I actually interviewed somebody that was on the mountains of Spain on her own, and she's created an amazing app, and yeah, out of boredom, which is
That's
amazing.
that's fantastic. Yeah, it's so cool. It just having that time has allowed so many people, I feel like, to start to do more of what they love and kind of realize they can do more of what they love, and that makes me super happy.
Exactly. No, it's crazy. So tell me, how did you come up with the idea?
Yeah. So, um, we we actually started thinking about ideas of ways to combat climate change, weirdly enough, because we were all interested in that. And then we weren't able to find exactly the right idea. So my co-founder actually had this idea as a shower thought. He was like, he walked out and he said, "We're not able to see our friends in these serendipitous ways anymore, where you just bump into each other on the street and you have a little conversation to keep in touch with each other. So what if you could do that on a phone?" So we were extremely intrigued. My other co-founder and I were extremely intrigued right away by this idea, um, and it ended up kind of transforming. And as we got the ball rolling and started hearing some feedback from more people, we realized the key was trying to solve this issue of anxiety, social anxiety about reaching out over these modes of digital communication. Whether there are so many ways to communicate, social media, texting, calling, video calling, but there's a lot of anxiety that people will still have about reaching out, about initiating conversation. We wanted to try to attack that.
That sounds really good. And how did you come up with? I mean, many people that listen to these interviews are people that are thinking of starting. So that's why I asked some ideas. So we encourage them to actually get started. So how did you come up with the typical problems like or issues? I don't like to say problems because they're not. Like who's going to develop it, or any of you as a developer, and the typical how do we actually do it?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's funny because we were focused on software because we thought that was going to be the most attainable, even though none of us really had much software engineering experience. I had the most, and I am very much not a software engineer. Um, so we kind of defaulted into me just taking on that role. but we knew that even if none of us did have that knowledge, that we could learn it, that there's such an abundance of resources online to learn about that. So I really just started learning my way through as we went. We knew what we wanted the end product to look like. Meanwhile, my other friend who didn't really have any design experience, he knew that he could start to learn stuff on his own there. So we were both kind of just figuring things out as we went. Um, and eventually, after we put in enough time, we not only were able to figure out how to develop on our own, but we also started to put some put some feelers out there to see if people were interested in joining us, find people who were really interested in the idea as well as interested in gaining experience, kind of being more of a central player as a designer or as a programmer that you definitely couldn't be at a company that was bigger than ours. So since then we've been able to build out a team, and we've just put out job postings even on Indeed or on other websites to try to draw people, and usually they're drawn in by the idea or the ability to gain experience. So I would just tell people to really sell what they can give people, even if it's not money in this really early stage.
That's a really good idea. I know many people that do that. I've done it myself. And that actually is a good way to encourage people that it's not as complicated as I'm going to have to pay thousands of pounds to a developer. If you know a bit, you can learn.
Yeah.
And if not, you can bring somebody into the team that actually can help. So that's really good. So tell us about Project 310. So what is it about?
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like I haven't even super gotten into this yet. So we're working on a mobile app called BumpCall. And like I said before, we're trying to digitally recreate the experience of bumping into someone on the street. So that works by we have users who sign up for the app and they add a list of their friends that they want to bump into. And that's really important, which I'll probably come back to later. Then once they're signed up and they have their friends, then users can virtually bump users in two different ways. One is they can wait for spontaneous notifications to come to their phone. So our server will send notifications at random times throughout the day or the week to a user and one of their friends at the same time. And then when both the user and the friend tap the notification, they will open the app to a video call between the two of them, and that video call is timed at 5 minutes long. Otherwise, users can start these video calls or these bumps themselves, because they're the kind of the main part of the app is there's a big bump button on the home page, and users can tap that, get connected with a random friend again for one of these 5-minute chats. So the reason I said it's really important that people only add their friends, because we get a lot of questions that are like, is it just taken from all my contacts or all my Facebook friends? Because I really wouldn't want that to be the case. And no, it is not. People have to choose everyone that they would want to talk to on here.
Excellent. That sounds quite different to what we have right now.
Yeah, we hope so at least.
So basically, you're bumping online, not
Yes.
offline. I thought when I was researching about it, I thought it is about you meet somebody in the street and you can bump
Yeah,
into each other. But that's actually very good. It's online because you can bump with people in other countries. So,
exactly. It's definitely a confusing. I get your confusion. We have a
yes,
lot of
exactly.
people, yeah, who need it to be explained, but we like how it's set up right now.
Excellent. Okay. So tell me, what was once you started it, what was the most challenging thing that you have found until now?
Yeah, great question. I would say the biggest challenge from starting was actually the kind of staying motivated as we were trying to learn and create at the same time. It just because it can get so frustrating when you feel like you're sometimes in development, especially, it feels like you're kind of just banging your head against the wall 10 times so that on the 11th time the wall breaks and you can actually get through. So now that now that we have a team of people to help with that, it's so much nicer to just be able to bounce ideas off of. But it could definitely feel like a sticking point. Now, our challenge is really trying to get enough great user feedback that we know what direction we want to take the app, because we already think we know we have a good a good idea of a few of the problems with the app and what we want to fix and how we want to make it great. But maintaining consistency in that feedback and in the data that we're recording is definitely a challenge, even though it's a fun one though.
So what did you do actually to get motivated? When in
Yeah,
that days that you're like, this is it, I can't do this anymore. What did you do?
it really was a matter of just having honest talks with my co-founders, and hearing them talk honestly to me, um, kind of saying, guys, I'm feeling burnt out and this is really hard. And they're like, okay, that's totally fine. You can take breaks, but just know we're super into this. We know you're super into this. We know that we are all dedicated to kind of getting to this end goal. So we understand that, but we are still going to be here kicking you into gear when the time comes when you're ready to go. So kind of just getting that positive encouragement and knowing that they were behind me was really helpful to be able to get back on the horse.
Excellent. So would you say that it makes it much easier to have partners than do all this on your own?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because many people are always trying to do it by themselves, and then I mean, I find it's very hard. I always had business partners, and like you said, you know, talking to each other and discussing and motivating each other is super important.
Yeah, I definitely I don't get me wrong, there are cons. You probably have to move a little bit slower because there's more you have to discuss amongst people. But the benefits of needing to think out your ideas like on a really deep level, being able to know, like knowing that you need to really understand not only what other people are telling you, but your own views and why you have them so that you can communicate them to people, I think is so helpful in knowing that you are making the right decisions and then also being able to communicate to anyone else when you're talking to, I don't know, potential investors or just people who are interested.
Yeah, that's right. So who would you say is your main user? Like what type of people are the ones that you think are gonna love your app?
That's a great question. We've been thinking about this recently. We had initially said so Gen Z is who we're focused on most, but that's because Gen Z has grown up with all these social media tools, right? And they view them in a completely different way because they've never not had them to use. It's kind of like a second language to them, and that means that the kind of the negative aspects of social media are also built into them, where it makes sense that they might have more of this anxiety because maybe they've been comparing themselves to others on social media for a long time, or simply viewing what their friends are doing and feeling like they don't need to get in touch for one-on-one conversations as much. Um, but recently we're focused more specifically on people who the ideal customer would be someone who just got out of college probably and is moving to a new job, because a lot of those people are going to find themselves in places where they're not surrounded by friends anymore, and we all know how much harder it is to make friends once you're only working as an adult full on, and you're not in classes with people, you're not kind of in the trenches with them in that way. So we think people who've just moved away, who are might still be struggling to keep in touch with the people that they've moved away from, could really benefit from this.
Excellent. And how would you say your app will be different to other apps that do something similar? So what's the uniqueness about it?
Yeah, great question. So there are definitely the other there are a few different categories of similar apps. So I would say starting with basic messaging or calling apps like iMessage, FaceTime, WhatsApp, things like that. The difference again is how this app will connect people without anyone reaching out. It takes the burden of of the initiative of reaching out off of the users so that it can create conversations, whereas these other apps won't. This other app still requires people, these other apps require people to reach out. And there are certain apps that try to remove the burden of that as well. Whereas like House Party, for example, if you're aware of House Party,
Yes.
it will send notifications to people when their friends are in a room, but people don't at least in my experience, people use it a lot more for game nights, specifically than just for keeping in touch and hanging out with people. Um, Discord is kind of similar, where people will just kind of hang out there, but a lot of times you still need to reach out to people, say, hey, let's get on and let's hang out. Um, and then the one other main difference is really that 5 minute time limit. We've heard from so many people, especially in Gen Z, that calling is kind of an event. It seems like it's this thing where you have to call for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours to really catch up on all of the details that have been happening in someone's life for the past month or several months. And so it's really can be a hassle to have to get on a call, but this is not going to interrupt someone's day nearly that much.
I still can relate to it because I have a daughter that is from Gen Z, and she used to be a house party last year, and now she's like house parties last year stuff. This
Yep,
year we don't use it anymore, and
exactly.
they change from one to another, and because they're so savvy. And at the same time, when you said they don't like to talk for a long time, that is so true. You
Hmm.
know, it's not like the previous generations, millennials, were chatting all day or talking on the phone all day.
Hmm.
They barely communicate. They're not interested in all their life's friends, and they just want to say, "Hey, how is it?" And it's such a completely different generation.
Exactly.
So yeah, matching an app with their needs, I think, is really good because they are consumers too.
Hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what we're going for.
Excellent. So tell us about um, the future of Project 310.
Yeah, I'd love to. So we've recently been talking about making a shift even towards attempting to tie in mental health in a way to what we're doing, and trying to almost present the conversations that we're creating in a way that can not just keep people in touch, but actually deepen relationships and make them more genuine. um, so for example, like some of the features that we are one of the biggest features that we're thinking about including right now are prompts, where we give people different choices on what they want might select a prompt to be for the upcoming bump that they're about to have. Um, and then that'll be presented on the screen and they can talk about that during the call. And that just has so much potential in so many ways, because how can we deepen relationships? Well, we can try to encourage people to be more vulnerable, to be more open so that they can trust people more. We can try to encourage people to be empathetic, so we can include questions that um, that show people's interests in their friends rather than just having people talk about themselves. Um, we can, but also just helping people have fun. So doing fun challenges. Like one of the ones we wrote recently was, don't move your head, just look in your current field of view and use three things that you see as dog names. What would be the best dog names? Just fun challenges like that to see what people come up with, get people laughing together. Um, that's one thing that we're really excited about. And there's so many other ideas we have. This could be used in a business context to help people connect in big businesses. Just just a million things kind of that we could end up going down the path of.
Excellent. So when is it going to be available?
So we're actually in beta right now. So if I can quickly plug, we're on Instagram at BumpCall, and our beta is in our Linktree link on there. Um, but in terms of launching on the App Store, which is going to be really big for us, we're looking at a late summer launch right now. We're going to try to be using the next few months in the summer to really push out these feature changes as fast as we can to get more of this data. Um, and then it's kind of going to be full steam ahead in terms of marketing this thing, getting as many people as we can on board.
So the app will be called actually BumpCall.
Probably. We actually, again, it's so funny the time that you caught me at, because we've been having so many of these conversations. We might be changing it to Bump, but if people go and follow our Instagram at BumpCall right now, they will be able to keep up with whatever we're doing.
Okay, so where Project 310 comes from?
Project 310.
Am
So
I asking
remember,
too many questions?
no, I love them.
I'm
I
just
love
really
it.
curious.
No, it's great. I mentioned before that we started looking at climate change ideas. So once we were doing that, we knew that no matter what direction we took the company, we didn't want the company name to shoehorn us into a certain idea, because we didn't know if we would have to pivot again. So 310 is actually the name, or it was the number of the dorm room that one of my
I
co-founders
thought
and I were
so.
in.
I thought
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So that was our freshman year dorm, and it was where we all met and all kind of became really close friends.
I actually thought so. I thought it's either going to be the house, the room. It's definitely going to be
Yep,
something like that.
exactly.
No, that's very good, because sometimes you decide to change the name and you don't have to change the name of the company. So that's good. I think Bump is quite cool.
Yeah, yeah. It'd be so much more of a hassle. Oh my gosh, to change the name of the company.
So tell me, is it available on iPhone, on Android, on Windows? There's all kinds.
Yeah. So we're only on iOS right now. We're actually doing our beta on the iOS app test flight. But we're looking kind of as soon as we launch on iOS as a full launch rather than a beta, then we will be a full go for Android development as well. So it's definitely coming soon.
Excellent. What about if we have another interview like in a year or 6 months, and you can give us an update on how is it going?
I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
Excellent. That's perfect. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for taking the opportunity to have an interview with us. We're going to have it on podcast, YouTube video, and as an article. Megan will be writing the article.
Wonderful.
And we'll keep in touch so we can keep up with what's happening with BumpCall or Bump.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Billy. This was such a fun conversation. I love talking to you.
Oh, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.